live stream talking about Forged. What up? Yeah, we're just enjoying this. It's very cold in Seattle, so I apologize. I have a coffee to keep my hands warm.
I have an iced coffee to keep my heart cold.
I have a thyroid problem. That's what I blame it on. I'm cold. Very cold. Anyway, yeah, so we've got some cool news to talk about today regarding the project, as well as a new dragon reveal, in addition to some painting by Josh over here on the first dragon reveal, the Black Dragon, which also has another name, the Xeno...
Yeah, so it's being, the rules that are being provided, if you're getting a compendium, etc., it's the Xenos Dragon. So, themed after a black dragon, but it has its own rules and everything that we're providing for it. So.
Yeah, unique, because it is a very unique looking dragon for sure. Yeah, so I think, do we want to do like a drum roll or anything for secondary dragon reveal?
We can wait. There's no one here yet.
Oh, okay.
We can wait.
We can wait.
We can wait.
There's Carl. Carl's here.
Carl! Hi, bud.
Carl's here.
Carl's here every time, right on the
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good to see you, man. Well, one way. You can see
We need
us.
to implement a Carl counter, so that way we'll just go live. There'll be a little number in the bottom, and it'll be every
Carl's
time he's
here.
there. Yep. That way people will know.
Can you check to see if we're live on the back kit thing?
Let me check my stuff.
Yeah, I think they got the page all set up.
Now there's 11.
Let me
We went from 1 to 11.
check my stuff.
Dang.
Let's see.
I think
And Carl said, "That's my secret, Captain. I'm always lurking."
That's a
Yeah, we're
cool
live.
lurker, I see you.
I see myself looking at myself, seeing myself, looking at myself, seeing myself, looking at myself.
This is like the kind of recursion that I'm very uncomfortable. But,
Hey, Carl. Hope you had a good weekend, bud.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hope we all had a good weekend.
I did. I did. It's
yeah.
all right. It was too short. That extra hour was awesome, though. I woke up. No, then I looked at my phone, and then I looked at my clock, and I was like, one of these is a liar. And the phone was right, so it was very cool. I loved that.
A little bit extra sleep on a cold morning.
Shit out of your clock.
Yeah, definitely did. But now it gets super dark super early, so.
Yeah, that's the only bummer part.
Not used to that.
It's like 5 o'clock and it's nighttime outside.
I get a case of the yawners.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Start busting out those
Little,
sad lights.
Little 4 p.m. coffee time, you know what I'm saying?
Gotta stay alive. Stay alive by any means necessary.
But yeah, so we've got, looking down, obviously since the last time you've seen us, we have funded.
Woo!
And we have unlocked the first stretchy goal.
Yep, in the Forge Masters vault. So
the Forge Masters vault is wide open.
Yeah.
So we've got the Wargies. I know everybody was really into those. And they were a good paint. They were from our last release.
Yeah.
So I know Spencer here on the painting team knocked those out. And I do love the way they look. They're very characterful.
Yeah.
Wargs, less wolfy, more intelligent.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I was just making sure it makes sense. I thought about grabbing them, but
I'll do it.
okay. So we're gonna grab wargs.
We gotta build up some tension.
Yeah.
You know? You can't just like reveal a dragon.
We had. I know I had mentioned too. We had the terrain. We'll probably show those off the next stream because one prototype got changed a little bit, so we're just waiting on that, and then we'll have them all to show, so you guys can get an idea of
scale
and what you're looking at with everything. And then we do have the dragon reveal number, I guess 3, technically, or 2, right?
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 out of the 7 of the hidden ones. But yeah, I started out with the Ice Dragon because that one started at launch, and then we have Black Dragon on launch day. This beautiful bastard.
It's all right.
Say that on stream.
It's okay.
This is an adult only stream.
All right.
Hey, there we go. Warg.
All right.
I'm gonna get this little ribbon.
I don't want to lose my dealio.
Here.
And these are being the scale is a little bit different, and the bases are different, obviously. Okay, so I gotta navigate this correctly here. Where do I go? There we go. So you can see we've got nice big guy here, really fun sculpt, and then the
2 of the 3. There's another one.
Yeah, there are 3. We have 2 here, and this is one of the. Sorry, it is so confusing because of the camera.
It's backwards.
Yeah. We got this guy. I really like the fur though. The clumping is an industry term, obviously. You wouldn't understand, but it's fine. We'll learn you today. The clump of the fur is good. I like the vertical movement in the volumes. You like that? Going across the shoulders, the top of the neck, and then what we call a skunk trail going down the back. Looks really nice too.
Is that also a professional term?
It's an industry term.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't know because
Yeah,
none of you are real painters like me. But I'm here to help. So that's the vibe. That's the gist. But yeah, so we got those unlocked. Very exciting. Hold on, let me move this dude back so I know where he's gonna live whenever we go onto that. All right, there we go. But yeah, really
Sweet.
exciting.
Yep.
Are we dragoning?
I think.
Is it about that time?
The dragoning.
Okay, we can commence the dragoning.
I have my laptop off.
Wow, so we're gonna do a live dragon update, guys. This is crazy. I know it seems reckless and just out of control, but
Should we warn everybody it's not a sculpt? It's just.
That's true.
right. So this is art.
It is art.
Yeah.
Because we are working on the sculpts.
But
Because
as they know,
yes.
our sculpts look just like our art.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, having seen the level of the Black Dragon sculpt, you can expect the same level for all of the dragons. Because they're going to be
ready?
awesome. Okay. Okay. Submit. Wait, submit. Hey, there he is, the blue dragon.
It hasn't happened yet.
There we go.
There we go.
And my the internet is now working, and I've just posted.
Well, either way, if
Oh,
you're
we jumped up another 30 people.
if you're looking,
Hey,
so
hello,
that is
everybody.
the next dragon reveal. You can see it is a spiky chonker of
Spiky
a
chonker.
blue dragon. Okay, so a very exciting winds and lightning, right, or so whatever. If we're gonna make a rhyme out of it. But yeah, so there we go. You can see too, right? Like all of the dragons are on the color trope, right? So, but they're all uniquely designed. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to make them our own twist, but familiar enough that you can still play with them with all your favorite games on the tabletop.
Scale-wise, you know what to expect. They're all on 100 mil bases. They all sort of fall within the same realm of everything else that you've seen between the Ice Dragon and the dragon I'm working on today. So that means the next one that is going to be revealed is colloquially the chicken dragon. Now he doesn't look like a chicken, so don't get confused. I know that I am just so convincing. People thought that we literally made a chicken dragon. I just sort of call him that, but he is my rotten little soldier, as it were. He's my friend, my pal.
Good time boy.
My good time boy. So can't wait for him to be revealed. That'll be on
When is that?
Friday.
all right.
Friday.
Friday it is. If that's right or wrong, we're doing
Yeah,
it
it's Friday. I
So-
think. Oh gosh, unless I did my. Now
I
I'm
don't think
paranoid.
that's
I did
right,
the calendar
but-
right. Well, it's supposed to be Wednesday, and then the following week it's Monday, Friday, and then the week after is Wednesday, and then Monday,
Wow.
Friday.
We love someone with a plan. That's great.
And
All
usually,
right.
sometimes that person at work. Sometimes.
Okay. Well,
I try.
sometimes like once out of a month. But it's all good. So we'll be back with that. You guys can check that out. We'll show off. Again, we'll have the terrain at that point. Like I said, we're just making a change or two on some of them. So we'll do a terrain expose,
Feature.
and then we'll take some stills from that and then post it in a update too, because I know some people can't catch the streams, which the recording should be still available afterwards when we republish them to YouTube and on Twitch, and they're on Facebook. So no matter where you are, if you're following, you should be able to see the replays. If that's something you care about, I don't know why you would. I don't know why. I mean, I rewatch them all the time.
What did I do wrong?
Oh no, I'm just like, man, I'm so cool. But
See, no, that's
you know,
fine.
but yeah, so that is the reveal. If anybody has any questions currently about the campaign before I literally kick Hannah off
Is there
of the
any
table.
chance at getting a terrain bundle?
Yeah, honestly, I think once we get towards the end of the campaign, we'll be able to set some of those bundles up probably in the last couple of days. So before we end the campaign, if you want to make those adjustments at the end, and then of course, like through the Pledge Manager, there'll be quite a few things we'll offer along those lines in order to make it easier on the back end as well. So, and the other thing is too is actually to address a couple of FAQ questions, because this actually fits right into some of the questions that folks had. When it comes to the add-ons, what the back end, it sounds like there's some confusion. When you go to the checkout and then you're offered all of those add-ons, you're actually just adding the value of those add-ons to your overall pledge amount, but it's going to work the same way as you've done with any backer kit survey, where you still go through the survey on the back end to specify any choices on your pledge tier, and then that overage that complimentary credit it converts over, so then that way you can actually add those to your cart. I think it might record what those are from your first chance.
Yeah, it may like autofill, so you know. Yeah.
Right, but it's technically you're gonna go through and specify again. So it's also the same thing if you wanted to change what you wanted to buy, but say it's the same value. That's
you could just
still
swap it out.
It's still gonna be complimentary credit. So you still have full control over everything in the back end of the program as well.
Which of course is tied to the current project pricing,
right?
And then when that round finishes, if it opens up again or whatever, then that will change. So it's still the value, right, that you're trying to get in on early.
Yeah.
And then too, everyone's been asking questions in the discussions tab. I've been answering a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also part of it, right? Like somebody asking feedback here, giving an idea that we think makes sense. That was one of the questions multiple times has been about an all-in pledge, and I know that it would make sense to do immediately now, but since we are listening literally to feedback all the time, right, and if we're changing things, adding things, I know that I was recently looking at another campaign for something, and some of the feedback was, oh, well, they just added something I don't want, but I have to pay X amount, and it's increasing my shipping because I'm an all-in pledge, right, or it's increasing my shipping. I don't remember what the argument was, right, but we don't necessarily want to lock people into something if we're still potentially adding or reshaping stuff based on feedback, and then that might make you pull it, whatever the case is, right? It's obviously a few extra clicks on your end to add all this stuff, but the value's still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think if we did an all-in at the very end that we would discount anything further, right? So, but that was the answer that I gave previously. It was like, yeah, you know, we don't want to have someone commit to something and then we make a change and they don't want it.
You're on the hook for higher shipping costs or other things like that. Like personally, I don't think I would enjoy that. So I figure
I would. I love paying for shipping for everything.
Gosh.
I'm like, oh, more. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah. Is there any questions before I scamper off and we move into painting? No.
Nope.
All right. Cool. Well.
Question free since '93.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to head off and go handle some Rivenstone stuff for the day. And then, I'll see y'all on Friday and enjoy the paint stream with Mr. Josh here.
Bye, Hannah.
Awkwardly exit
Bye.
stage. Right?
I'll
Left.
switch. So you don't sound as awkward.
Look at that professional change. That was so crazy. Wasn't that crazy, everyone? Everyone in the chat. That's so crazy. Whoa, dude. Whoa. You guys are like so good at everything, Josh. You're so
Carl
cool.
says bye.
Hi, Carl.
Okay. So
What a transition.
that was great.
Malev
Flawless.
says, what a transition.
Oh, Malev. Bye, Malev.
Shinobi.
Bye, dude. Why are you here, dude? Don't you have like cool things to be doing?
He said the production value here at Bammy HQ is crazy.
Bro, we got potato phones. This is what's running off of. It's all potatoes. We have interns here.
It's not black magic at all.
No, it's not. These cameras are trash, dude. We're using Logitech 3190s, okay?
He says he's a stan, so right.
I appreciate Malev the Shinobi. Shout out to my friend.
All right, so we're gonna switch into paint view.
Sure. Look at that. Wow, I'm in the top, dude. It's crazy. All right, so you will have to bear with me because this painting setup is not anything I'm used to. So where my hands are, how I move everything is completely foreign. But so I've been working on this dragon off and on. Let us know if this is too dark or anything too. I feel like it might be a little dark, but we'll deal. But I've been working on this
Try to lighten it up a little bit.
previously. Yeah, only if that. I'm just sort of looking in the shadows here. Okay,
What's that? Better?
that is
Too much?
a little bit too much. Stop. There you go. All right, cool. So I've been working on this off and on. Painting this dragon is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That would be the term that I use. I will demonstrate sort of what has been going on. We're not like finishing the dragon out or anything like that today. We are just putting in some good work. So everything that you see was initially done completely in black and white. Technically, I was using a skin tone. I think it wasn't directly white on top of black. But it is where you're doing all of your value sketching and underpainting ahead of time. Any transition of light to dark, so any of the value that you see happening across the back, anything like that, that was all done just with white on top of black, sort of like you are drawing with a pencil, something like that. Then, once you do that, tinting with colors, which is everything you see here to kind of get this cosmic-y, greeny, dark, shimmering fun was done on top. So today what we're going to do is sort of re-render out some more of the edges and different details like that, and then we'll glaze on top to bring in more detail. So nothing too crazy, but it is essentially the process that you do to do this. The same process can be done literally with anything. If you're working on leather, or if you're working on stone, anything like that, that's the sort of easiest way for you to avoid trying to build texture with a sort of monotone situation. Works well for too is speed, right? So if you could imagine me trying to do base coats and layers to get this, obviously airbrush makes sense, but to actually bring those colors back in, right, I'd have to be mixing a lighter color of the color below. Obviously, I don't want to do that. If I'm shifting it all kinds of different ways, that would get really crazy. So other than working on something large like this, where, you know, it takes hours just to sort of go through and do the values and everything like that, the actual color finishing portion. So I knew that we were going to be doing something on stream with this, so I didn't go like all the way through with everything to bring out the details. But I could have, and then you spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes adding color, right? So it's a good way to front load the majority of work that you're doing, and then just simple glazes and adjustments at the very end will get you to where you want to go. So, and then of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Chris will let me know of anything that I need to know. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to be using some white. I am using Vallejo white. Doesn't matter what you use for it, obviously. I don't think there's really a huge difference between what I'm doing if you're using different brands currently. Not a big deal. What I will say, since we haven't done any official, I haven't been on stream in a while, so I always try and use a wet brush. So we'll move this out of the way. Where am I in focus? So what I mean by that is I am not using a loaded brush, which you see here. It's pretty bloated. If I tap it on my finger, you can see now it is nice and sharp, and it's still wet. The only reason I want it to be wet is so that it doesn't flood with thinned paint, and I can use it very sharply like a pen or a pencil, which is the whole goal. So that is what we're going for. At some point too, we may adjust and have a palette cam if people want. I don't think I'm doing anything crazy on the palette that people would necessarily care about, so I am not too concerned there. I always do what?
Do you put the brush in your mouth?
No, I am not a brush licker. I feel like that is very weird behavior. So, but no, I am not a brush licker.
You just 15 people leave the chat.
That's fine. Those are 15 weirdos. They can leave. One reason I just don't like that, one, it can break down natural brushes a lot faster because you have a dirty mouth, and those oils and the bacteria and all that stuff, unless you're using brush soap on your brush every single time you use it, is not going to do you right. And depending on what paints you use, so pretty soon we're going to be using some paints here in the studio that aren't like baby paints, so you can't just eat them because you're bored, which you can with a lot of hobby paints. You don't want to be eating paint that has real pigment. That's just not good, not smart. And then on top of that, I know a lot of you are lazy paint lords like myself, and you're not changing out, you're not cleaning your wet palette, you're not changing your paint water, and you know, you're not going to walk into a public restroom and like drink a toilet. And I would argue that your paint cup is probably pretty close to that, so I'm not trying to lick that every time either. But if you want to do it, I'm not going to yuck your yum. You can. I don't care, dude. I just don't. So brush lick away. All right, so I don't know where we should sort of hop in first. Why don't we bring up some of the highlights here on this arm? Now then, let me adjust for you. Now you can see I already have the values here pretty good, pretty bright, but they can surely be adjusted further. The volume that I'm paying attention to is sort of across the top of each of these individual plates that you can see, and then down the middle. So I'm just slowly going to render out that further. Nothing crazy. A lot of this work too, you do not have to be very smooth with. That's kind of the nice part about doing value sketching, is by the time you actually get into doing any of the glazing at the end, it cleans up the majority of the brush strokes. So I know while I was working on this, some of the people here in the office were like, oh, look at that. I'm like, yeah, it's not smooth for any reason, right? It doesn't have to be. I'm literally just getting it to where I want the underpainting to be, and then they came back after I added the color, and everyone was like, oh, that's now changed very dramatically, and that's kind of the fun part. The only part about it that's hard as just a painter, right, speaking about it, I know some people will get really burned out if they don't see a lot of progress on something that they're working on, meaning, like, you know, with this, it's literally a bunch of white and black on top of nothing, and then at the very end, finally, you see a change. I know that that can be sort of boring for people, so as long as you understand what you're going to see at the end, then you just got to deal with it. But all right, now I'm moving into, I'm going to grab some phthalo green. That was sort of the really fun green color that you see all over. Phthalo green is a specific pigment, so it's different than me just saying the word green. It is like a literal noun. It is a thing that exists. It has some cool qualities. There is phthalo green. There are a couple shades of it. There are like two different pigments that typically are used. The one that I'm using is mysterious. They don't identify which of the pigment, other than just being phthalo green, it is. But I'm going to get that to that 2-to-1 ratio of water, and I'm going to glaze that on top of the white paint that we've already applied. If you are unfamiliar with the term glaze, it just means very thin paint being applied with even surface tension on top of whatever it is that you've just worked on. I know that some companies sell glazes, but companies have to sell products, not verbs. So I always try and tell people, think of glazing as a verb, not a noun. As with anything in this hobby, a lot of stuff has just been turned into a ready-made product, when in reality a glaze is just thin. So I just use water. I don't use a medium. You don't need anything like that to get good results. You just need some thin paint and some water. Easy peasy. So you can see the value sketch, right, that I have underneath is now coming through. We've also resaturated the phthalo that was on top of that. I'm going to go back in with some white and continue to push my way down. Now I have built in sort of these values that I am slowly trying to create like a gradient with as I work my way down. So I'm going to be applying less and less of a highlight every single time. We just don't need it to be super bright as we're moving through. I'm using a size 1 Da Vinci Series 10. I pretty much use the same brush for everything. I had some of these left over here at the office. This is the same brush that I used to use consistently all the time for years. I've now switched over to the Da Vinci Series 76 size 2, which is pretty much a size 1 Series 10. I know this is fun stuff to hear, but people always want to know about the brush. Pretty much the same size, just holds paint a little bit better. Oh, there's a huge logo. That's
I'm fixing it right now.
That's great. This is how you know the producer's bored, when
No, just trying to church up the live stream a little bit.
when we start getting live edits to the overlay.
There you go.
But so I'm gonna keep highlighting this up.
Carl asks, is it all acrylic so far?
Yeah, I only use acrylic paint. I mean, you can use oil if you want. I don't really like. You know, you can't do certain things with oils that you can do with acrylics, just like you can't do certain things with acrylic you can do with oil, vice versa. I am not in the I'm not a member of the Waffle House, even though shout out to Kathy and Jim, love them to death, but I don't do oil painting. Even in college, so I went to school for fine art. I have a bachelor's degree in fine art. In painting, I never did oil painting in any kind of serious focus. It was always acrylic paint, so never got into it. In miniature painting, I see the benefit of acrylic painting not being in the finesse of application, but rather the sort of like rendering portion of it. So being able to do oil washes, things like that, wet blending for stuff for base layers. If you're doing some crazy OSL stuff that like Wapple will do, right? I think works really well, but it just isn't my thing. So I don't really do it. I leave it to the people who do it better than myself. But that definitely is something that's been getting more popular. I know as of late. Let's see, as we keep moving up into the wing, I didn't really do any value sketching on the wing itself, so to speak, so I might be able to go in here and kind of build our way up. I know I glazed on top of a lot of these sort of like bright cosmic-y bits. Yeah. Oh my god. He just can't help himself. He just has to ruin things while we're working.
Yeah, I'm going to put it right over the top.
Okay. That's fine. You can see I'm just going through, dotting and scritching and scratching where I may deem it necessary. And then I'll go in much thinner and actually sort of build in more value. I just want some things to pop through different portions of the wing. Another thing that I'm doing with these sort of stars, I guess, or the dots, the energy, whatever it is that we're creating here, not a lot of them, even though it looks like I'm putting them in straight lines, they're actually usually curves, so sort of like a C or a U if I'm doing a grouping of them, and then varying the size as I do it.
We were asked if you use airbrush, or perhaps did you use any airbrushing on this big guy?
Yeah, so I airbrushed all of the color, right? So that if you joined late, what I was explaining at the beginning was everything was done with a brush. So all the value, all the sketching, like literally all of the light and dark was done with a brush, and then just tinting with an airbrush. So the airbrush itself was like 2 minutes of work. I just went over and went with some different colors, but everything else was done in white and black ahead of time. So what we did on the arm to make that brighter, right, was the same thing I did on top of black the first time around, and then just sprayed. So usually in my painting, and Chris can attest now that he's seen me paint for a few months, right, the only airbrush that I use is for priming. I might use the airbrush a little bit on some things, usually for like an adheral application from below at the very end of a paint job to add some shadow or something like that, like a unifying shadow. That was sort of one of the challenges when I got hired here, right, was working with a team of painters to begin with rather than just by myself. So if we're all sort of working on the same project but different things at the same time, being able to go in and do like a unifying shadow color or something of that nature really helps sort of bridge styles between people. So using a Nadiral application, which is the opposite of zenithal. So if you know what zenithal is, right, spraying a light source from above, Nadiral is doing a light or shadow or color from below. It's just literally the opposite of the definition of a zenith is a nadir. For those that like words. So, but yeah, I'll use it for that, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes if I'm doing some OSL work, something like that, I'll go in and do it, but that's pretty much it. I'll use it for terrain and stuff. Anything that's really big, I'll usually use an airbrush, but the majority of my painting is always with a brush. So, but good question. So now I'm going to go back in and start glazing over with the phthalo green, where I went back in with some of that white. And this is that same 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm just pulling it in the direction that I want that gradient to kind of show through. It shouldn't be super bright. These colors end up looking more saturated as well when they're wet, and then they kind of mellow out a bit as they dry. The color underneath here is sort of like a blue and purple mix, if I remember correctly, so it isn't too crazy. But good questions. Now then, we had talked about the paint, right, Chris?
In what regard?
That the paint that is going to exist.
Yeah,
We've talked about it, touched it a few times.
Yeah.
So relatively soon, we will have our sort of final production double check copy of the paints that we've been working on. So you should be able to see us work with those pretty quickly. I'm guessing before Christmas, easily. We'll probably have some stuff out there. The main difference between those pigments and what really is what available. So like, when I was working with them and we're figuring out sort of the final consistency and texture and coverage and yada, 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 right? When we were doing all of that, it was matching super, super high quality natural pigments. So there are only a couple brands like Chimera and a few like the Scale 75 Artist Series and I forget who else has one, but the actual real pigment stuff that like you don't want to eat, right? Because it can make you very sick. But really, really high quality pigment, really, really good opacity and coverage, but also being able to thin, extremely thin without breaking. So a lot of these same painting techniques that I use, I'll be able to do as soon as that paint arrives, with the added benefit of having really, really high contrast on a lot of the tones that we are working with. So sometimes that can be difficult, right, when you're working and there are lots of pigments mixed in the colors that you're working with because you don't necessarily know what to expect as you continue highlighting and doing stuff. So
Malev says it's always the flaviest of paints that which one cannot eat.
This is true. Yeah, there are going to be forbidden paints in that regard, but
I mean, you can eat them, but don't.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
you don't want to do that.
So where can people get this dragon?
Get this dragon.
Yeah, where's it? Where's it at?
Where's the dragon from?
Yeah.
Well, he grew up in Texas, and no. So this dragon is our first add-on dragon from the Forged Backer Kit campaign. So if you like the look of this dragon, we also revealed a blue dragon this morning, but they're available as add-ons on the Forged campaign. You can check it out on Backer Kit if somebody drops a link in the chat, or you can just Google Forged Backer Kit and it will immediately pop up for you really simply. But we have all these big, gigantic dragons that we are adding to the campaign over the course of the campaign. So hopefully every few days, I think it's every 72 hours we're doing it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
You can hop in and we'll have a new one added. And then at the end, if you want to purchase all of them, we will also have a collective discounted bundle. So you'll be able to grab them all. But they're all really awesome. Obviously, baked into the campaign, we have the Ice Dragon, and then we've got this guy that we are calling the Void Dragon, and then the Blue Dragon that was revealed today, among all the others that you haven't seen yet, and they're all really awesome. But that's where you can get them. They are $25. I mean, this thing is huge. So if another miniatures company, I love how I got white paint all over the tail there. That's so good. So good. Look, we'll just cover it up. No big deal. Other companies may charge a lot, like $60, $75 for these. These will retail at $35 after the campaign's well said and done and delivered. But you'll be able to get them for $25 and then discounted a little bit further in the all dragon bundle at the end. So definitely check that out if you are interested. Go back on top of the work that we've done here. And I do have my other adjustment colors too, so what I may do is kind of go in and start shifting some of these hues with like a magenta, a purple, blue, something like that. The color theory here is relatively simple, but I have more wiggle room because I'm using a cool tone green rather than a warm tone green. I would say 90% of greens that you use when you're painting is like a warm tone, so it sort of traps you into a lot of standard complementary colors, but with cool tones you can do a lot weirder stuff, so I can have a little bit more fun. Go ahead and glaze over the chest as well. Yeah, if you have questions, anything like that, always feel free to ask.
Carl asked if he backs for $1, can he just add on all the dragons?
No, so we do not have a $1 pledge.
Not yet.
We essentially, it's just sort of a amount of work versus that initial pledge. So we have cheap opting in options from some of our RPG books to the smaller collections of miniatures like the monster box or the hero box, things like that, and then you can add whatever you want. But we don't have a dollar option necessarily. So you can see everything is getting brighter as I'm like slowly working my way through. Whenever you're working like this too, you can do a lot more editing towards the end of the paint job, and just continue to shift things up and down until you kind of get it to a point where you're happy. You don't really get stuck as much. I think I kind of want to do a little bit of shifting around. So I'm going to play with the shadows here. Now that I know that this section is dry, I can kind of give it an attempt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little bit of room between these shadow areas, or I would say volumes, probably is the correct term I would want to use there. And I'm going to go back on the bottom side of a volume. So in this instance, it is the bottom side of some of these muscle groupings. I'm going to add a little bit of white. And this would be kind of like a specular highlight coming from below. And I could be totally wrong in what I'm about to do here, but I have an idea to use like magenta. So let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to grab another pure pigment paint here, just magenta. And I'm going to glaze over that small little highlight that I added. This might not work. You know, sometimes I just play around and see what happens. But I think it'll be dark enough to where it is okay, but we'll see. The real issue will be if it's even readable, and if it's not readable, then I don't care. We'll just pretend I never did it and we'll move on. I could get it to be readable, but that would be too much work for me to care about during the stream. Sorry, we're just not going to fight the lighting in here. And our paint setup isn't perfect yet, so we will continue to adjust, but luckily painting big stuff like this isn't too much of a challenge. Let's continue to work on the head here. That's probably easier to aim for. I don't think that magenta really is readable, so I don't really care too much about exploring that idea further.
Carl says, "Dear Josh, I was just wondering if you use something like a picture, maybe a nebula, for inspiration, or if you just have it all in your mind. Hashtag brush for Josh."
Yeah, no, so I don't use reference really for anything. And this was more of, I mean, it sort of looks like a nebula, right? I didn't really, like when people started saying that is when I started saying it. That wasn't really what I was planning on, but I don't really plan anything at this point. I mean, sometimes I'll think of things like if, you know, like if the other studio painter here, Spencer, is like, okay, I'm gonna start working on this. What are you thinking? I literally will just say whatever I think makes sense. You know, I'm not really a planner. Planning usually comes in if it's like something like this, where if it's going to be box art and I don't know what it's supposed to be and yada, 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 like, I don't know. It's pretty effortless, but at the same time, you have to remember I've been painting minis for like 24 years now, and nothing surprises me and nothing is new almost. So, like, it's...
Love says, sometimes I'll think of things, in quotes.
Yeah, sometimes I'll think of things, but most of the time I don't have to. Similar with, like, color choice, everything like that. For those of you that are OG paint followers, you know that I used to sell the periodic table of color and things like that, right? And those are really great tools that sort of give you an idea of how I think of color and things like that. But you know, that's always the one thing. Like when I used to teach, or I'd go to conventions, and I had Patreon and all of that stuff, right? The one topic that was sort of highly requested but difficult to pull off would be, you know, I would always ask people every 6 months or so, like, all right, what class topics do you want to see, you know, this, that, and the third, and they're like, I want to see how, like, I want to try and learn how you just immediately start working, right, and, like, know what colors to pick. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, that's, like, the hardest one, right, because that's something that comes with time, or color theory. You know, I can teach color theory, I can do this, do that, but that unfortunately is just a literal paint to mini skill type of thing. So the more time you put in, the more that starts to exist for you. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, but sometimes I plan. Or sometimes too, like if there is artwork, so I've been working on the will, and that's a good example. So like that's based off of concept art that's fully color, right? But it's illustrative art. It isn't necessarily, I mean, it's realistic. It's hard to describe really kind of how it works, but you know, for some of that, it's like, okay, I looked up different photos of what the middle of a sunflower plant looks like in case I needed to shift the color because it's kind of boring in black and white, right? So sometimes I'll look at stuff like that just because I'm trying to fill in missing information, if that makes sense, based on art. But usually around here, the artwork isn't color. Or like for the illustration that we had initially from Mike for Forged, all of those initial minis and the dragon were painted based off of that, just so that the colors matched the artwork or the illustration. So I did follow that a little bit, but that's kind of the extent that it goes to. So, or the worst for me is if I was ever going to lie to myself and pretend that I would like play Warhammer or something, right? And I'm like buying those minis and then I'm like pretending to follow a color scheme for an army or something. That to me is like the most boring because it's just like fill in the blank, you know what I mean? I don't know. That isn't as fun. So in college I was very much the same way. Like if we were supposed to have a plan for something, I would say I did, but I just didn't, you know. That was just how I worked. So I think another area that could be interesting to sort of move into that I'm seeing is missing some value currently are the plates between his back. It looks like there's really only like one plate. So this one right here kind of has some decent value. So we can go back in and build these. That way, if we look at it with our eyes squinted, right, like obviously the top of the head I just worked on has value. The big bladey, bony bit in the front there does. The arm does. The back leg right there does. Top of the wing does. That center portion is missing some love. So we can hop in and do that. Relatively simply, that's a easy shape, sort of. I say that, of course, and the issue is going to be actually getting the brush in there at the right angle. Oh yeah, that's like impossible. Let me figure out how I can get in here on camera. Okay. So I want the highlight to run across this edge, so I'm just going to go ahead and very bravely block in the reflection. I think I went too low. Did I go too low? Let me see from this angle. No, we're fine. So this is just the point at which it's going to be the brightest no matter what. I can just go ahead and block that in. Now I will build everything in around it. Very exciting stuff, I know. I'm also like dying of heartburn. Coffee was not my friend today. So excuse me for coughing, but that's literally a heartburn cough. It's really fun. Good old morning streams. You never know what you're going to get. Even though probably afternoon for most of you. Let us know too in general, like if this time slot is good for you, or if a different time slot works better if you are watching. Just because since we are on the West Coast, it's hard for us to really know what time zone to hit exactly. So we assume 12 p.m. Central to 1 p.m. Eastern is probably a good place to be since we can't really stream at like 7 p.m. here necessarily. I know I probably wouldn't like that because I'd be stuck here all day, but whatever works during business hours, we're still trying to figure out for you. So what I'm doing is I'm just following, texturing some of the edge here on the bone plating, and then I'm going to taper in the highlight directly. With just some thin paint, I'm going to be pushing it, physically moving the pigment, so that way it is natural. I'm going to add in some of our little cosmic-y dots before we do so. If you have any ideas too of painting content, we're going to start streaming more frequently. We have the room now set up. All of this sort of, we were hoping to stream before Forge went live, but you know, plans change. So we do have some plans. We're hopefully going to be streaming at least twice a week, painting wise. And then we'll have a stream on Friday talking about project updates and other things we got going on here. But if you have any specific show ideas, topic ideas, anything like that, always feel free to drop it along. We are very receptive to feedback. That is nice. Nice, gentle feedback. Nice, friendly suggestions. So I'm just pushing the brush at a 45-degree angle to get it to taper naturally. I'm just like literally pushing the pigment in the direction I want that gradient, and it will dry like that for me. Assuming I have the consistency of the paint. Yeah, it looks like it'll be fine. Now remember, none of this either has to be super smooth, because once I go in and actually apply the color on top, it will be nice and do a lot of that gradient work for me. Hit this backside here. Okay, a little bit more. Really, I'm just trying to fill this window that you can see. So that's pretty good. Add a little bit more. And then I'll let it dry, and then we'll go back in with our glaze and start adjusting. One change I had to get used to after I moved up here is the drying time of paint is a lot different.
How so?
The humidity is a lot higher up here.
Stays wetter longer?
Yeah. Yeah, when it was like 120 outside in Oklahoma, I could literally put paint down, and within a second of removing my brush, it's dry. So I could paint way faster. Not that it's noticeably slower, it just isn't as, like, my working time's different, so to speak, layer by layer.
You need anything to drink?
No, I'm alright. I have a drink by me. I am okay. Alright, as soon as mom's gone, go crazy in the chat, because no one can see it. Alright, so I'm going to glaze over this. Go ahead and glaze over all of it. Then whenever we have that done, I'll sort of go in and start adjusting. It's really hard right now. Like, I don't have the I don't have an overhead light set up in here. We're not completely set up. We don't have the right lens yet, so to speak. So I am painting at a disadvantage this whole time. I know the camera looks like it's well lit in here, but it's because I have two huge, like 30-inch lights blasting at me. So the shadows are very brutal from the angle I'm trying to paint. So it's hard for me to see what I'm doing, but I can pretend. I also know a lot of the work that I'm doing, I'm gonna have to go back and redo whenever we're done. So there's that. Pretty much. Long story short, I'm doing this for you because it's like I'm sort of ruining the work that I've done, because I know that it's not. None of this is as precise as it needs to be for a photo, but it's okay. This is how baseball goes, as they say. All right, so we're gonna let that dry. I do want to go in and adjust a little bit. I don't know. I gotta figure out what our next move is here. Let's see. 10:49. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep rocking for another little bit here. One color I was using to go in and adjust was a sort of rust brown color, but it's so hard to read here under the lights because I did it in shadow areas. You can kind of see, like up underneath, right? There's this rusty color that kind of ties it back into the base, like the ground that you can see. But that hasn't been kicking in as much. let's work on the skull. So I had planned on the eyes and nose, so like the cavities on the skull, to be sort of glowing the same tone as everything else. So I'll just go ahead and drop in some of that, and then we'll work around it. I have a calendar alert going off on my phone here real quick. 1 second. Good old calendar alert. Make sure you drop your questions now, since I can't answer any of them. But Chris will be back here in 2 seconds. Make sure you check out our campaign on BackerKit, of course. Let's see. Oh, it says no internet? Okay. So our Wi-Fi's dead? Woo! Well, I hope we're still live. Are we back? Okay, we're back. Cool. I was worried there for a second. It wasn't working on my phone. But remember, if you haven't checked it out, we did reveal the blue dragon today. And he was really fun and chunky. All these were illustrated by Mike on staff, so they're really fun. I'm going to hit a little bit more of the phthalo green on that leg. It's kind of dull. Kind of, sort of dull. Brighten that up a bit. What did I just see? Yeah, okay, so I was just looking at the magenta like from my angle looks really cool. I wonder if I turn this so it's a little bit brighter. Okay, so you can kind of see it more, right? Like in the lighting, that magenta does pop quite a bit. I like this idea. I know that if I begin doing that on this thing, that'll add like another 8 hours of work, probably like a full day of just doing reverse like specular highlighting, which, you know, I mean, I do have all day to paint. I really don't, though. I get pulled away to do 1.5 billion things. Totally fine, but even though I am the lead studio painter / painting department manager on paper, I do a lot of stuff here, so outside of that. So it's hard for me to sit directly for 8 hours. There was a period in time where I wasn't able to do anything for like 2 weeks, which was funny. And then I was able to sit down and I'm like, I haven't been painting in a while. I don't even remember how to do this stuff. Okay, I was hoping I could work on the face more. The angle is so brutal for me to try and hit. We're just gonna phone that one in. Why don't we? All right, we'll do easy highlights on the chest plating here. This dragon definitely is like feels more like a vehicle because of its hard surfaces than most. So I'm going to go thin here, start pushing up on certain highlights. Do we get any more questiones?
Let me see. I don't know this in regards to you, but Carl said, I'm still loving the idea of one technique you need for this Ravenstone faction or this type of monster, etc., where there's a theme for
Gotcha.
for one or more streams like fur, flames, OSL blending, or something similar.
Wow, sounds like what I was doing on my Patreon.
And this guy says, are you thinking of doing some OSL on the eyes?
Yeah, so that's why they were painted brighter. Good question. That's why they just had like white paint shoved in there. And based on this sculpt, there is a little bit of bleed out outside of the eye socket and the nose. So what that means is if I'm going to do a glow on the inside, I can get sort of a green glow coming from like the tear duct areas and then sort of the bottom left and right side of where the nostrils are. Can't really do that on camera today, unfortunately, but I would probably go with more of a warm tone green than what we've been using. So that way it is still green, but different. And it should look really cool. But yes, that is exactly what I was thinking of doing.
And then Carl asks, what are you hiding underneath your hat?
What am I hiding under my hat? Nothing. I just have hair, dude. It was like neon green. It was pink for a long time and really long, and then now it's neon green and short. We'll see what it turns into. It is always changing. Everybody knows here, though, I have many hats. The mom hat is just what seems to be the best streaming hat. So that is most publicly appropriate. Definitely a jokey hat guy a lot of the time. But just thin white paint, that's all we're doing as I render up the highlights here and then glazing back on top. Yeah, once we have our paint situation figured out as well, part of that plan too is creating stuff that is directly easy to reproduce or just use directly out of the bottle for product lines directly. So like if you have Rivenstone, there can be a Rivenstone pink at some point, things like that. It just depends on, you know, how the sales are and the production looks and all that stuff. So, but we have thought of it. We think it's a good idea. We agree. It'd be nice to have. And painting, you know, what's interesting too is I haven't painted any Rivenstone stuff. I've had one mini on my desk for so long that I potentially was supposed to paint, but there has been no rush on it versus other things. So I don't know if you guys saw the Turkey Paladin that we have on, is it on the web store now? Do you know?
I believe so.
It's live? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can check that out. I painted him up really quickly just so we could have him ready. But that was last week? Yeah? Yes?
William posted a lineup of all the Blast Off guys so far.
I saw him.
Should we share it? Should we do a little quick tease?
How many people are watching the stream?
Like 27.
All right, the 27 of you are going to see something. I can pull it up here because it'll look easy.
I can pull it up here too.
Oh, just on the screen?
Dragon one?
Yeah, if you want to do that. So
yeah.
I will give you all the context you need to know for what you're about to see. Okay? Let me give them a journey. So we're going to show something off.
Hold on, it's going to take a second.
It's going to take a second. So what? Okay, so this is something we've worked on that is completely unique, that is completely different, that is very exciting. It's something I'm excited about. I think it's great. I think this is a phenomenal thing that we're doing. It's great direction, great look, great feel, great vibe, everything. But in this collection of things that we are creating, we have officially like our first look and feel for one of the groups for this thing that we're doing.
It's about to pop, and then I have to adjust the size. Just be prepared.
Okay, so it's gonna be huge or small. Okay, it's huge. Oh man, look at Constantine. This is actually great. Okay,
I can leave
start.
like this and just go
Yeah. This looks great. Okay, so on the left you can see Constantine. Now Constantine's a real cool guy. He is in fact a cat in a biker jacket, in a helmet, on a very rad looking motorcycle situation. Now the motorcycle itself isn't what you think. That's actually a mobile oven. So those are like two little pizza ovens. And then those aren't headlights. Those are actually loudspeakers. Constantine is a delivery boy for a restaurant called Greckenhauer's. And he announces his arrival by meowing super loud to get your attention. That's why he has loudspeakers. And sometimes he eats your food. All right, now then.
rolling through.
As we move on, we have...
Quick tease.
Yeah, as we move on, we have Hashtray. You can see Hashtray. He's a very chill line cook, really relaxed guy. And he is there with his giant spatula, which is his best friend. Whether or not he thinks the spatula is a sentient being, we are unsure, but he is a nice guy. Then we have Willis. So we have Greckenhauer. He is the head chef at his restaurant. He is the leader of this crew, as you could say. You can see he looks crazy. He's got spices, a bunch of knives, robotic additional cooking arms. Then we have Lenny, who is the dishwasher bot. He is sort of like the busboy bot. Looks great, right? Really nice, approachable guy. Definitely getting things nice and clean. And then we have Ruben, the waiter. You can see there a insectoid, sentient-style robot, multiple arms, carrying a bunch of food. Looks kind of mischievous. Not entirely sure. But yeah, there you go. So little restaurant crew of sorts. For what? We don't know. But, you know, we showed it to you. We showed it to you. It's a thing.
They saw it here first.
You saw it here first. There you go.
Special forged preview for something not attached.
That's pretty on par for any time.
Whatever, it's fun.
I feel like anytime we're on stream and we have something to show, we do. So.
Yeah. They deserve it.
You deserve that. It's what you deserve.
Carl says, ooh, I got a soft spot for miniatures with multiple arms.
Well, there's going to be many opportunities.
That's a theme.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, so.
We didn't tell them what it's for, though, right?
No. Not at all.
We'll blast right off.
Yeah, just blast right off, guys. That's all we'll say on that.
Carl wants to buy awesome stickers at some point.
Awesome stickers? Like what? Like a sticker of my
we
face?
have like ribbon-sewn slaps and stuff. They're all like foil slaps. That's what you call them. Big stickers.
All right, quick poll in the chat. Have you ever called a sticker a slap? I'll wait. If the stream gets cut off, it's because Chris is angry.
Yep. Well, some guy said no. How old are you, though, Stansbury Joe?
Either a boomer or younger than you.
There's two no's.
Yeah, nobody calls them slaps, bro.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Definitely
I'm
not.
gonna Google it.
Okay. Now, what you're doing is you're doing selective bias or confirmation bias on Google. So what you're Googling is, do you call stickers slaps? And then you'll get results where people are calling them slaps. You're not actually getting the truth.
Nope. Slaps are a form of street art that use stickers. That's what so yeah.
Right, that's different. Yeah, that's like when you get the free postage stickers from USPS
Sure.
and then you do art on those. I am familiar with that. Well, yeah, we have street art available. Just don't put it on the street, or do.
Yeah, we could probably post some our stickers and pins and stuff on the webpage.
Yeah.
I think we give stickers for free if you buy minis. So, you know, go buy some minis.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I wouldn't know. I've never bought any of our products.
Well, you don't need to.
I know.
Also, any news on the Burgle board game?
The Burgle board game. Oh, you mean Prowl?
Yeah, Prowl.
Yeah, Prowl's like as close to done as a cake could be.
We could bring in some test cards.
Oh, yeah. You want to show off test
yeah,
cards?
Fuck it.
All
I
right.
mean, F it. Sorry, we're not supposed to.
I don't even think you can hear Chris really, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
perfect.
He
I
didn't
didn't
cuss.
say
He didn't
anything.
cuss in the background. It's fine. Yeah, no, we are currently getting final stuff and final changes made to the assets. The rule book is currently getting laid out, and then it's very close to being done. I mean, the game's done, right? So everybody that's played it has said, wow, this is super fun. I agree. I've played it. I don't think I've won. You know, what's interesting is I think I've lost every game I've ever played here. Even ones that I'm actively developing, helping develop. Sorry, that's not even the word. Concepting, helping create, that's probably the word. Lose those too. That's just kind of my vibe, right? Have fun. So we'll let him come in. But we do have like all the test cards and the art. I don't know if any of this has been shown off, so this is another exclusive.
It's because you're a loser.
I'm glad no one can hear. I'm literally getting bullied. Okay. Our janitor just walked in and said it's because I'm a loser. So that's fine. That's fine. Even when I play games with my wife, I lose. Guys, it's normal. I mean, I don't know about you. Do you win every game you play? I don't think so. All right? That's not the point. The point is just taking a little break from life to lose. A little bit, you know? It's fine. Couldn't be as bad as when Faye tried to teach me Rivenstone. That was the worst I've ever lost in this building. All right, so we have some cards here. They're coming in. Did you see what Brandon did?
No.
So I was like, yeah, I've lost every game I've ever played in this building. And then he comes in and he goes, yeah, it's because you're a loser.
There's that, and there's a little sample meeple.
All right, we have a little sample meeple. Look at this guy. Look at this mischievous little guy. This is a...
That's hand built in the studio.
Yeah, this is handmade. It's a prototype. It's a prototype, so that way we know, we knew what to send off. But a little prototype, and then we've got...
There should be 2 house cards and 3 burger cards.
Okay.
2
So
room cards.
we have some room cards. So in the game, they're down like this, and you go, all right, I'm in this room. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and see what's in it. So we've got the sauna. Oh my god, there we go. So you can see, at the start of the sneak phase, you must move your burglar 1 space. So if you are here, at the start of the sneak phase, you gotta get off that room. So, and you can see it has an alarm rating of 1, and then it has 2 valuables. Monies, loot, I suppose. You get to loot the room on a 2+ roll, which is pretty easy.
We're gonna do a full live stream soon with the game.
Yeah.
Probably maybe this week.
Boom. And then the other room we have here is the art room. You can see that. These are all illustrated by Alex here.
There's a fun game in these cards too.
Yeah, there's also a game in all of the art. I actually don't... Oh, yeah, I do.
It's
Yeah,
right
I do.
there.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Yeah, you see.
I won't point it out, but there is something hidden in all of these rooms that you can find. And we've sort of told people about it after the fact, and then we've also not told people, and then some people catch on, stuff like that. But that's also something fun that will be interesting for people, is realizing that we've hidden things in all of these rooms. But so now, then we also have burglar cards. So these are the cards that allow you to do actions. You can see some of our little burglies here, and these are again prototype cards, so they're like playtest cards pretty much. We've got Hoof It, move your burglar up to 2 spaces. I have done that many times when I have this card. But you can see the art is so cool. Boom, we've got Pickpocket. Look at an opponent's hand, choose 1 card from it, and put that card into your hand. That is a super annoying card, depending on what's going on in the game. And we've got Distract. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. That looks like, that's literally Chris.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey Chris, what is it? And he's like, what? What? Move another player's burglar 1 space. So what this would mean is, on your turn, you go, I'm going to distract you, and let's say you're in the art room, which is worth a lot of loot. That's a great room to be in, right? And you're like, ooh, I'm about to make some money. And I go, ooh, I'm distracting you, bye-bye. Well, now you're in the sauna, and you're not going to make as much loot, right? So the game's very simple to understand. It's definitely a...
So the art's great.
The art is great. It looks really, really good.
Says pickpocket, and then they steal from a pig. You mean pig pocket.
It is pig. Yeah, you are correct. Pig pocket. But yeah, it's very much like a... You can be really backstabby. I would say half the cards are sort of backstabby and manipulative, and then the others are like benefits to you. You can be defensive, you can be offensive, right, when you play the game. I don't think it makes... There is no noticeable benefit to either, so you really can play the way you want. You can literally target 1 person and just go after them. When I played the game against my wife, that's what she did to me, naturally. That's why I lost, of course. But it's really fun. Games don't take that long either, maybe 20 minutes.
We're going to have a full stream with Will to go
Yeah.
over everything soon. So
Yeah.
He's really excited. It's his baby. So
Yeah, Hungerford did a really awesome job on this game. I love the way that it looks. I think as a system, it's really awesome. We can do more stuff with it. So definitely excited for this to get out into the wild. And yeah, among other things, you guys have seen multiple previews of things today that no one has ever seen. Except for this dragon, which you guys knew existed. So, but that puts us at right about over an hour, so we may as well just chill and call it there. If you guys have any other questions, remember, check out the Forged campaign on Backer Kit. You can immediately add on this guy. You can add on the other dragon. Of course, there will be a discount for the bundled dragons once they're all revealed, if that is something you're interested in. And we will be back on Friday with more news, updates, and infos, all of that jazz. and anything else we've got going on. Like I said previously, hopefully we'll have the terrain ready to rock and roll then, so you guys can see those prototypes and get an idea on sizing. I know that is something multiple people have asked on the Backer Kit discussion tab, where I'm answering questions off and on when I can. So if you've got any other questions, anything like that, drop them in the chat.
No questions so far.
And I'll kind of hang out. There's always a little bit of a delay. Oh. Oh no, everyone can see everything.
Yep, all things.
They can see it all. The wet palette. Gen Con Cup.
Also, share this campaign.
Yeah.
All your groups and.
Yeah, definitely get the word out, everything like that. Any additional funding obviously pushes towards all of the stretch goals we have planned and everything like that. So, helps out a lot.
Well, looks like no questions. So
Okay.
We're gonna quit this.
Quit it.